So tonight, it's not really tonight because we're just having happy hour, right? So there's a happy hour conversation while you're drinking and eating. I'm just basically share some of the lesson learned that we have. And plus, this group is actually small enough that I would like to maybe I'll do about we keep it short, like maybe max 30 minutes of some of sort of the lesson learned that we've been going through, especially with international. And after that, if you guys have time, I would like to, maybe I'll have everyone to sort of quickly introduce, you know what, we should do it now. So I know like who we're talking to, your name, what you're working on, and then if there's one thing you want to talk about tonight, if I know, say it. So start with you.
Okay, cool. My name is Caitlin Leister. I'm the CEO of Reoriented Media. I'm working on a product called Infinite PDF. Right now it's just on the iPad, but it's going to be on other platforms as well. So I'm really interested in kind of bigger goal of taking something to multiple platforms and internationally as well across different verticals.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Alexander. I'm a doctor and I'm in the digital health space.
Okay. Awesome. Welcome. You.
Hey, my name's Matteo Fowler. I'm a tech blogger. I do lots of videos about tech and startups. I've met some of you before. Nice to see you again.
Thanks, Matteo.
I'm Dan. We haven't met yet, but I direct operations here at Runway now. And hi. Hi. And
You're going to take us international?
yeah, we're gonna go. Our international mobile growth is happening now.
Awesome.
Look forward soon.
Yay. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Mark. I'm from a company called Bill Forward. We're a startup from London. We've just come over to San Francisco for a couple of weeks to check things out over here. We're working on a really cool new kind of payment gateway and subscription management engine for like anything in the subscription space.
Cool. My name's Ian Saunders. I work with Mark at Go Forward. I was one of the founders there. I'm kind of interested in applications or how people are applying some mobile payment paradigms into the mobile phone space. So, for example, like scanning or taking a photograph of your credit card and automatically scans it in. So, where do you think that's going to go in the future?
Okay. That's interesting.
One question.
One question. I'll remember that.
Well, my name is Han. I'm with Rally Team, which is basically an employee collaboration platform for large organizations. And we're basically trying to increase productivity, innovation, and collaboration in the enterprise. So I guess the main thing I'm looking for in this presentation is just how you guys went global and some of the lessons learned during that process.
Hi, I am Prashant Deva, the CEO of Chronon Systems. I would like to know about your go-to-market strategy and what you guys do to drive distribution and leads on a day-to-day basis every day.
I'm Matt Tyndall, founder and CEO of Tinge, and we're building next-gen rating, recommendation, and decision-making tools for content. So, and I'm interested in any cool hacks for just in general.
Sounds good.
Hi, I'm Arnold. I'm with Tame, and it's a context search engine for Twitter. And we don't have a mobile app yet, but we're conceptualizing one right now. And what Tame does is, instead of giving you all the tweets in your timeline, like chronologically ordered, it shows you an overview of what has happened in your timeline in other places.
Cool. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm the new office manager at Runway. Right now, I'm just soaking it all in.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Tia. I've lost my voice because I'm speaking with French people a lot. But I do partnerships at Runway, and apparently a lot of people here don't know who I am. I heard this recently, so if you don't know who I am, you should meet me because I basically broker partnerships between startups and corporations. So if you have any interest in pursuing such a partnership, I'm your guy.
Awesome.
I'm Gibson. I'm a software engineer for NaviSense. We build indoor navigation application. My presentation earlier today. Yeah, and I'm really curious if Dolphin will ever support Flash platform. That's what I
We
really
do support Flash.
Really?
Yeah.
But I ran a Flash ad, it didn't work.
What?
Followed by
Flash video. We support Flash video.
Okay.
So if we,
Because all other browsers are free that support Flash.
yeah,
And Dolphin is free, so.
we should talk offline.
Special day.
I'm Ashot, I'm the founder and CEO of NaviSense, and Gibson is part of my team in certification. So we have this location platform that allows you to locate the mobile devices without relying on any infrastructure. So it means you can locate yourself in buildings where obviously you don't have GPS, and without having a requirement to actually calibrate the field in the building. So I'm extremely interested to hear about the growth of Dolphin and acquiring mobile users, because our aim is to really locate every mobile device and to be the platform whichever mobile device uses.
Hi, I'm Ritesh. As my two colleagues as well as you know, we are all part of NaviSense. And just one more thing to it, all three of us are moved from Australia to
International.
Yeah, international.
Hey guys, want to introduce yourself?
I'm David Deegan. I also work with Edith on Dolphin Browser. So happy to meet you all.
My name is Konstantin. I'm from Moscow, Russia, from Yandex company. I'm working in development department. And Mobitap is our partner. And I'm here to say hello to everybody.
Great. Wow, many country representatives. Welcome. And then?
I'm Chad. I'm working on Bitball. And guess I'm here to hear your story, your journey through
Awesome. Welcome.
She's eating.
Oh, wow. God, he's wearing our shirt. Well, maybe after you're done eating. At the back.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm co-founder of Assemblage, and we just moved in today. Yeah. So hi. And I know nothing about Dolphin, so I'm really excited to hear all about what you're doing and your path.
Oh, he was already.
I'm Dan. I was sitting over there. Now I'm sitting over here. I moved pretty quickly. I'm good. I use my phone a lot.
I'm Vidya. I'm with MetroCloud, and I don't know what the prompt was for this introduction, but I could explain more if you ask me later.
Sounds good. So thank you, and no more moving around. So it looks like there is like 10,000 people, but it's really just 20. But anyway, so today is actually less about Dolphin, but more about sharing, like some of the lessons learned that we have. But I'm happy to talk all about Dolphin all day long. But honestly, I've been telling this story for about 3 years, so maybe like we should try a different language. So it's actually a little bit different for me. But tonight is actually about just some of the international like growth things that we've been doing, and I think that. But before I start, I actually picked this because it's like a Voyager. You really don't know where you're going. When we got the chance, actually met some of our friends in Russia. These guys, I think in August, at least for me, was the first time. And I actually love Russia compared to all the other countries that I went to recently. And so it's where Manana is from, so you guys can speak Russian. But yeah, like just to quickly, what prompt like today and some of the lesson learned. Yeah, like in the last 12 months, and actually started with Geeks on the Plane. So I went on the Geeks on the Plane Middle East. So it started with like Israel, Jordan, and then UAE, and then Egypt. Turkey. So that's 4 countries to start. And then from then on, like basically a lot of Asian countries. I think in the last few months, other than Russia, Indonesia, China, India, Vietnam, and one more, I don't remember. Anyway, so we went to many different countries, but the reason why we did so much traveling was because we are starting to see some of, like for example, in India, we have 4 million installed that I checked today, but we only just hire 1 person. So we're looking at some of these growth, we have no idea why, and we really want to go and basically every single places that we go to, we'll visit the local mobile operators. We will talk to some of the local OEMs because it's not a high-end phone, it's a lower-end handset in a lot of these countries. We'll visit the retailer to actually go and buy a phone. So to Russia, we have our Russian friends, and she will translate for us. We'll ask them a lot of questions just to figure out what is some of the behavior when people in all these different countries, how they actually find out about apps, how do they get all these recommendations? Do they even actually use Google Play? I can tell you, Google got kicked out of China, right? So there's no Google Play just to begin with. So all these little nuances, every single new country, we learn so much really just from talking to people. But which sort of equate to why we do some of these strategies and why we work this way, and why I'm hopefully at least in the next month I'm not going anywhere because mostly it's Christmas holiday. But there's just so much that I think for all of us to think about, because I think just growing your apps doesn't matter if it's enterprise or consumer apps. There's so much more market and customer waiting for you guys to go there. But I want to sort of kind of give you first why you should think about it first, and then I'll tell you a little bit about strategy and some of our experience, and then we'll start with Q&A. Sounds good? So I want to give you some stat if it actually work. I'll let Banana to help me with that.
Yeah, 100. It's probably.
So the first stat I actually want to show you guys is right now there is about, let's do this, it's easier. There's over 1.5 billion smartphone subscribers worldwide, and about 31% growth. I'm sort of reading it off. But essentially, think about this, right? This is the graph to support, but the thing that mind-blowing for me, if you think about, right now today, US is about 330 million in population, and the smartphone sort of penetration is about 61-62%. I was just reading it this morning, so that's how I remember that. For the rest of the world, in India, it's about 10%. In Russia, it's about 30%. China is also about 30%. But the weirdest, if you think about the craziest thing is there's 1.3 billion people in China, another 1.2 billion in India. So even the 30% is pretty much equal to our entire population. So if you put things to perspective, well, that's pretty obvious why we need to think about international, right? Just purely picking two countries already, that growth is insane. And so now, but at the same time, just a couple other things is, these two countries that I just named, especially for India and in China, is actually Android land. It's definitely not Apple, because Apple is, frankly, is too expensive. And I like to kind of put things in perspective. It's about 1.3 million activation per day, so which means about 900 Android activation versus 120 cup of Starbucks per minute. That's crazy, right? If you think about it, every minute, about 900 Android activation. That's a lot of phones. Just to put things in perspective, I was in China. One of my friends actually started a company called Xiaomi. It's an Android brand. And I visited him on November 12th. The day before, it was basically the Black Friday of China. On that day, he told me, I swear to God, he said it 3 times, because I thought I heard it wrong. He did one day, 500 million RMB, so it's almost 100 million US in revenue in one day on the Black Friday. That's crazy. And then last week I visited another potential partners called WeChat, which is sort of the WhatsApp. They did a 10-minute promotion to push the phone, same phone, and sold 150,000 units, but for about $300 US. So that also means 300 million in revenue in 10 minutes. It's just insane. I don't know how to describe the magnitude. just in terms of, other than showing compare this with Starbucks, but there's just so much smartphone activation around the world that is just insane, and which means there's so much opportunities for us to think about. So I shouldn't, well, based on some of the stats I just told you, US is no longer the first smartphone market in the world. In fact, China is. I think Flurry actually did a really, really good analysis in March, basically showing the curve and how it's been growing. But having said that, actually that was a pop quiz, but anyway, having said that, even though China is the fastest growing market, in fact I apologize because I wanted to show this, but it's a little hard to read. So other than China, you see graph like Vietnam or Thailand or various different countries. I can send it to you guys afterwards. I'll pull this on slideshow. But the point I want to make here, other than Philippines in this, in terms of the fastest growing, all these countries they don't speak English. None of them. The fastest growing smartphone market in the world, other than Philippines in this chart, they all have their own language going on. So which means that something for us to think about, okay, we know that this market is growing like crazy, but then at the same time, they all speak in languages we don't understand. What are we going to do about this? Okay, so there's two things that you should take away, but at the same time, okay, they're already growing so fast, is it already too late? And it's definitely not too late. And you can look at the graph here. US, because we're already at 60-some% penetration, the room for growth is not as much compared to China or Malaysia, Canada, which is third one, but India is just insane. We went over there, the part which is even more exciting because people are really, really poor. The price point for an Android phone could be less than $50 US. And a lot of people, I think the most exciting part is, before, some of them may not be able to afford a laptop, but now they can afford a smartphone. And the first time they can actually have access to the internet because of an Android phone. That's exciting. That's just something that I think all of us should be part of it to help another billion people to have access to the internet. What are you doing about that? But having said that, that's like some of the Indian phone that you can see, and they're all actually fairly cheap. And I like to make an analogy. I think that now Google is sort of like the new Microsoft, and Samsung is sort of the new Dell, and Android phone will definitely continue to fall in terms of price point. Would you guys agree? Right? And of course, when we went over to India, met with some of the Windows Phone. Windows Phone actually doing pretty well in India, surprisingly. And they keep telling us that, oh, you need to develop like a Windows Phone version, and I'm like, I don't think so. But anyway, we'll think about that. So this is actually, I apologize, this is actually so little. Let's see if I can make it 200. Yeah, that's 150. Right. So this is a quick sort of download on, for the next 100 billion install, what are some of the most popular apps? And this is actually from Mashable, a little study that they have done in terms of the most popular app. I definitely do agree the #1 app around the world is Facebook. When we went over to Indonesia, we talked to some of just people in the shopping mall buying phones. They will tell you that, we're on Facebook, but we're not on the internet. Because what they're thinking is that I'm talking to my friends, and I need to communicate with them. They don't even think that they are using the internet, but yet they are. But in some way, I think it's sort of a marketing gimmick, because the minute they think it's internet, they're paying a lot more. The little they know they're still paying for it when they are on Facebook. But Facebook is definitely, it's just so popular around the world, other than China. But other than that, everywhere, other than the 1 billion people, everywhere you can see Facebook. And certainly, like when we do some of our marketing strategy, the first hire is usually market evangelist for us, for some of these countries, and they start in Facebook, and then we Actually, I learned something new about Facebook and business page earlier too. I share later. But it's definitely some of the things to help us, okay, what platform to go to when we go internationally to expand. So I'm not all about just install. This is actually a graph about money. So even though China and India and some of will have the huge growth, but where you actually what country you actually make the most money is not these countries. In fact, Japan is the #1 in terms of the highest ARPU for mobile apps. So they're happy to pay, and they're crazy about mobile games. And then second runner-up, the first runner-up is South Korea, and then US, UK, Germany. A lot of developers, like when I do sort of this talk, but in a reverse, I do the same thing when I go like to Vietnam or Indonesia. All they want to talk to me about is how to go to the US. So I will do a reverse conversation. The answer I usually have for them is a lot more straightforward. I mean, it's not straightforward because all of us are working really hard to make sure that we have users here. But over there, it's a lot more complicated because they don't have very good infrastructure. Here, at least, okay, you need to optimize on the App Store. There are 2. In China, there's like 500. So what do you do about that? So there's just so much in terms of like way that they do things differently. But I do want to balance when you guys are thinking about international, is a balance between volume of potential, how big the market is, and versus how much money you could have, right? Because if your app is all about, if you're doing mobile games, I would suggest after the US, think about Japan and China. These two are actually growing very. Japan for sure because they're willing to pay for mobile apps and in-app purchase and pay for a game app. So China also is rising as well. They're willing to pay for in-app purchase. So there's really depends on what sort of things that you're working on. Then you can sort of decide, okay, this is my international strategy.